As an employer, you might well be concerned about reasonable adjustments for a person with epilepsy. You might wonder exactly what your legal duties are. You might wonder what sort of reasonable adjustments it might be possible to make. The best way to find the answer to those things is to talk with the person with epilepsy. They're going to be the ones who can really help you make those decisions in a reasonable and justified way. The equality laws say that you do have a duty to consider and ideally provide reasonable adjustments. This is because people with epilepsy are likely to be classed as disabled under the equality laws, and that is where your duty comes from to provide reasonable adjustments. The best possible reasonable adjustment has to start with a risk assessment. The reason why you need to do this is because people with epilepsy vary massively in terms of how their health condition affects them. So you need to find out from them as an individual what, if any, risks there might be. For many people with epilepsy, they won't need any reasonable adjustments at all. That's why you need to find out from them exactly what their needs might be. If between you you've identified a risk and you've started looking at reasonable adjustments, that might take some level of conversation between you and the employee. So it's worth looking at negotiating and compromising so you can both come to an agreement that you both think is reasonable. As an employer, it's really understandable you might be concerned about the level of cost involved in providing reasonable adjustments for somebody. So you need to know about access to work. This is a government scheme that helps people with disabilities to get into or stay in work. They can provide a range of things, including some support with costs. One of the most common examples we have is for a person with epilepsy who is unable to get to work on public transport and is unable to drive. And Access to Work will consider providing that person with taxi fares. It may be that they ask you as an employer to make some contribution to that. There's a range of other resources they have available, so it's definitely worth you knowing about them. We've already talked about how, in order to reach a reasonable adjustment decision, there may be negotiation and compromise involved. If an employee feels that you haven't offered something that is reasonable and you haven't justified your decision clearly, that may be unlawful discrimination. They may feel that's what that is, and they could take you to employment tribunal. So it's really important that your decisions are clearly justified and reasonable.